Hello everyone and welcome to Heliborne. Now I'm going to make 5 videos about the helicopters in Heliborne, and I'm going to do so by order and by side and by era. If you know, well, Heliborne comes in with 2 sides, blue 4 and red 4, and in 4 eras, from the 1st to the 4th. Helicopters and weapons fall in between those eras in the shape of this progression. Up to here is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now what I'm going to do is to first give an overview of the game and the helicopters in what they do, weapons, how they fly, etc. Then I will also explain the different classes of helicopters there are. And in the 4 next videos I will be covering all the helicopters in batches. First blue 4 tier 1 and 2, then red 4 tier 1 and 2, then blue 4 3 and 4, then red 4 3 and 4, for a total of 5 videos. In this way, and in this one, again, this is an introduction. This is to give you an overall view of the helicopters, of what they do. Now every helicopter comes with 4 different tabs: weapons, soldiers, defense, and camo. Now camos you unlock with experience points, and weapons and the helicopters themselves you also unlock with experience points. You begin with the very bare bones ones, but still they are very fun. All of them are very fun to use, don't take me wrong. So yeah, back to the hangar. Each helicopter comes with different kind of loadouts to tailor it to your personal preferences. And each one of them as well costs different amount of points. When you are making squadrons, you have a top amount of points that you can build your squadron around. For instance, in Vietnam you only have 250 points, so you need to balance the amount of points you use between the different helicopters, the different weapons, the different defense options they have, soldiers, etc. We will enter into that more in some other video. Now first things first, there are 3 kind of helicopters in the game, and you will see them and notice them by their icons in their tabs. If you go to progression, you will see that some of them have a small inverted triangle, some of them have a square, and some of them have a diamond. Now the inverted triangle, they are scouts. Scouts are kind of the special brand of helicopters in Heliborne. You will be able to spot enemy ground troops much farther with these helicopters than with either transports or assaults. And they also come with something called a mortar spotter. Mortar observer rather. Mortar observer has 2 things. First of all, it gives you binoculars so you can spot the enemy. And when you spot the enemy, the other guys in your team can see them as icons from a distance where they wouldn't be able to see them otherwise. So it's a spotting mechanic. And then they are actually able to use mortars, and we will see how they operate later on. The scouts, they are the special brand because they have that special ability. Transports and attack choppers, they don't have anything special going for them. Transport or attack, I mean, you can fight with both. Transports tend to tell you that they are more oriented towards transporting soldiers, and attacks and that they are better than destroying enemy stuff. But there are transports which are extremely good at destroying enemy stuff, and there are attack choppers with soldiers you can load. So there are even scouts with troops, you can see that. So the definition of classes is a little bit blurred between them, especially between attacks and transports. Scouts, they are special in that regard. Now we have one special case, and that's the Camo 52, the alligator. The alligator has 4 different weapon options, and one of them, the first one, gives you a mortar observer. With this helicopter is a scout. With any of the others, is an attack chopper. That's the only mixed helicopter I know for now. Yeah, next. Each helicopter has 4 different tabs. One of them is camo, it's purely aesthetic, and you unlock them with experience points, but you will want your experience points first to unlock stuff, but whatever. Second one is defense. Here you will have door gunners, you will have flares, you will have whatever your helicopter can carry for defensive setup. Soldiers, if you have soldiers, they will come here. Weapons, they come here. Now, soldiers. You have squadrons. Let me show you here. Soldiers here. In the soldier tab, you have normal soldiers. These ones capture enemy fields. They are very important because they are the ones which capture the field and man the AA of the airfield. But then you have specialists. You have manpads, which are shoulder-mounted SAMs. RPGs, soldiers with an anti-tank rocket, which are really good against enemy ground units, and even enemy helicopters if they stand still on top of them. And mortar teams. Mortar teams are special in the way that you can only load them in teams of 2. And each team of 2 is 1 mortar. Mortars are then used by the scouts in order to mortar the enemy. As for weapons go, well, every helicopter comes with different weapon options. Some of them don't have active weapons. For instance, the Super Stallion has no weapons at all. It only has the door gunners. But most helicopters come with different options of weapons. You can choose between. As you can see, each one of them costs different. So helicopters cost points to activate and put into your squadrons, and weapons, well, they cost different depending on their capabilities. So how do you do a squadron? Well, you go, you hit create a squadron, you choose the squadron you want, decide the tier you want it to be. For instance, let's use US tier 2. You give it a name, you create it, and then you add the helicopters you want with the items you want. The problem is that you can't go over the point limit for each one of the eras. First era is 150 points, second era is 250 points. Era 3, I'm not totally sure, but I'm going to tell you in a second. Era 3 is 480 points. And Era 4 or Tier 4 is 550 points. So, you make your squadron, you take your choices of helicopters and weapons, and you go into battle. But in battle, how do you manage your helicopter? Well, let's take a look at how your helicopter flies. Okay, so here we are in test flight mode, and we have a Hind, ME-24. Now, controls. First controls are up and down. Space is up. Left shift is down. Up and down. WS, accelerate or decelerate your chopper, even bringing it backwards if you hit it enough. Now, side to side is A and D. Left and right. Of course, this is all from a neutral horizontal point. Now, if you hit right click, you will be able to do what I'm doing right now, which is pretty much tilting my camera with the helicopter not following myself. However, if I don't right click, the helicopter will follow my movement. If you have ever played War Thunder, it's a very similar idea. Wherever you aim, the helicopter will try to point. But there's more into this than what it seems, because, well, you can see this helicopter has a rotor. The rotor is doing thrust upwards mostly. If I put my nose down, I hit nothing, just putting my nose down, the helicopter will try to accelerate, because now that rotor is giving me a forward component. Conversely, if I bring my nose up, the rotor will be tilted backwards and I will be trying to go backwards. So remember, forwards tends to accelerate you forwards, and backwards tends to decelerate you or move you backwards. Of course, if you mix the keys, let's come to a close here. If you mix back key with nose down, for instance, if I go to maybe 15 degrees and I hit S, you can see I'm keeping my place, more or less. I'm tending to go backwards, but I can keep my place more or less. But in general, if I hit no keys, it's going to accelerate. Now, the same is true for turning. If I do this, the helicopter will swivel. If I'm doing that while moving forward, let's get a little bit of forward momentum. As you can see, the more you nose down, the more you tend to move forward. If now I put my nose there, the helicopter will go there. If I put my nose there, the helicopter will go there. But if I do that, meanwhile I'm actually tilting my helicopter, you will see that it's much faster. So A and D plus mouse to turn around. You are going to be using both all the time. Keyboard and mouse. They are integral. They work together. So you are going to use your keyboard with your mouse to help your maneuvers. The very way I'm doing it right now. Now there's one more thing, and that's beyond the dog that is barking in the background. Sorry for that, but it's the way it is. Altitude assist. As we saw before, well, you can climb by hitting S. By hitting space. But if I put my nose up, you will see that suddenly I'm beginning to race much quicker until I stop. In the same way, if I want to go down very, very quickly, I will bring my nose down, hit left shift, and the helicopter will drop down off the sky like a rock. Be careful with doing this, of course, because then you have to recover. And these things have inertia. The bigger they are, the more inertia they do have. So, yeah, there's a way to assist your climb up and your drop altitude as fast as you can. Comboing keyboard and mouse again. And that's because, as you saw before, if I'm at minus 20 degrees and I hit no key, you can see the helicopter keeps its altitude, etc. But if I go further down, the helicopter will will start dropping altitude because suddenly there's not enough rotor pointed upwards to keep my altitude. And it's the very same way when you are climbing, because as you see, helicopters, most of them have the rotor tilted forwards. So if I bring my nose up, I'm helping the rotor to bring me up. And that's all there is to it. I mean, those are the cornerstone keys you are going to be using for using your helicopter. Ooh, yeah, I told you this thing has inertia. You can have a lot of fun in the training mode by doing just stunts and doing stuff to, well, get a feeling on how these things fly. Remember, the smaller, the more power it has, the more maneuverable it will be. But in general, big helicopters, well, they aren't as nippy and zippy as small helicopters. Now let's go under those. Alright, we did so, and let's go under those. We did so. Oop, no we didn't. Let's go back. Yeah, you have to be careful with those. It's much more efficient to do this in cockpit mode because it's very easy to lose reference from there. Okay, so next thing would be using your weapons. Now using your weapons is the most fun part of this, right? Now, you have to keep in mind, however, that some actually, I'm going to change helicopter. Hold on a second. I'm going to go with this one. Well, you'll see in a second. See the crosshairs? They are following the camera as I pan them and as I move my helicopter around. Why is that? That's because this helicopter has, you see it, has a turret. The other one didn't. The other one had only fixed guns. So guns, first lesson, some of them come in turrets, some of them come fixed. If they come in turret, you can do a fly around while you are, well, weapons prohibited because we are out of the weapon use area, so let's go there. But you can do a flyby while shooting at stuff by hitting right mouse button and then shooting. You can also aim your whole helicopter if you want to head there. But sometimes you don't want to head there, right? So yeah, that's the way to use your turreted gun. Now we are into the weapon zone. You will see, this is with right click. If I stop right clicking, the helicopter will try to follow the mouse. So two ways to use those. Next, rockets. Rockets are unguided. Rockets fire only forward, they never come in turrets. And to fire rockets, you aim them and you shoot them. Let me see if we can find some targets here to shoot at. Okay, here we are. Here we have several different targets. You can see we have tanks, infantry vehicles, even Humvees. Now, to use your rockets, you need to point them and shoot them. Remember, they are not very accurate. So usually you use them in ripple fire, because you will see that if I go to cockpit view and I hit F, F is for zooming. Some helicopters do have zoom, some other don't. But if you see, they aim pretty much in a shotgun pattern. So if you want to be very accurate with rockets, you need to be very close, or you can use them as some kind of area denial or saturation fire from far away. Next, back to the cannon. See, you can use your cannon with right click, even from the cockpit, or you can use it without right click from the cockpit. And you can use it with zoom or without zoom. Fine, it's actually that simple. This is a 30mm gun. This thing is the biggest helicopters carry. So it has a huge penetration potential. But keep in mind that all ground objectives and choppers as well in the game have armor. Some of that armor can only be penetrated with some calibers, and some of them are invulnerable to those calibers. For instance, if I come in front of a main battle tank like that one, see, that's a main battle tank, and if I hit, you see I'm hitting but I'm getting no results. And this is a 30mm cannon. However, if I come to the side and put my gun there, oh, now I'm doing damage. And if I come from the rear, I will do the most damage. So front, the most armor. Side, medium armor. Behind, the less armor. Of course, if you are hitting from the less armor side, you are doing a lot more damage than if you are hitting from the side. And that's how you kill a tank, from the side or the rear. Pretty much straightforward. But this is important because this is a 30mm cannon. Again, 30mm cannons are good enough to attack anything other than main battle tanks. If I hit this from the front, I'm going to get hit and eventually destroy it. But if I had a 50 cal, for instance, I would need to go to the side of that infantry carrying vehicle and hit it from the side. Another thing, when you run out of cannon or machine guns, you will see the counter is filling again. When it's full, your weapons will be reloaded. Your guns reload in flight. Your other weapons don't. So once you are out of rockets, you are out of rockets for good, until you come back to base and reload them there. See, I'm out of rockets, I can't fire them anymore, and they are not reloading. Next, ATGMs. Now ATGMs, you can see, wow, that's a very wobbly view. Wow, I can't aim for 6 with this. Why is that? Well, that's because I'm moving forward. The faster you are moving forward, the more the thing will wobble. However, if you are in a perfect stable hover, like so, and you bring, see, it's perfectly stable, and I can use zoom as well. So let's zoom in. There's a tank over there, and this is pretty much a weapon that follows your line of sight. So put the target on the reticle, fire the missiles, and they will hit. Now, since I'm not having a lot of luck. Oh no, that's because that's a destroyed tank. No, I actually destroyed it. Okay. I was seeing no hit markers. Usually you get hit markers. You can see that you need several of them to hit and destroy a main battle tank. But if I have Bradley, boom, just one hit and he's destroyed. With this also is the same as with the guns. You want to hide from the sides if possible because you will maximize your hitting power. You can hit enemy helicopters with this, but again, you need to be pretty much stable and in hover when you do so. So you are very vulnerable to enemy return fire. However, what really ruins this weapon type accuracy is forward motion. If you move to the sides, you can see the side is pretty much stable. So side to side is a very good way to move, avoid enemy fire while you let loose some ATMs. Of course, you will have to compensate for your movement by predicting your point of impact, but you can see it's not very difficult. You only have to compensate and hits will happen. And there's also, well, door gunners, there's that kind of stuff, but that I will show in a later phase of this video. You can see, well, this 30mm I really can wreak havoc, come behind this tank, take it forever, but destroy it and keep on moving. And that's how you use your weapons. Also remember that if you are in a turreted gun, you can right click. What's that? Is that a tank? Oh yeah, it was a tank. Oop. That's a tank from the front. From the front we can't deal with it. And from the side we can. And as you can see, I was using my turret all the time. One more thing, Q. Q brings out flares. Flares are against the things I hate the most in this game, which are enemy AA missiles. The problem is if the enemy has already fired an AA missile and you use flare, it's going to hit you anyway. Flares, well, if you are really lucky and you're moving forward very quickly, you might get lucky and get the enemy distracted. The enemy missile distracted, but don't count on it. Usually, if an enemy AA missile is coming your way, it's going to hit you. I hate them because they are the skill equalizer. You don't need any skill to that. You point at an enemy, you wait for the P, you fire, and you are pretty much guaranteed a hit. So whatever. These flares also work very well against manpads. And against manpads, actually, they do work. If you drop flares after a manpad is coming for you, chances are the manpad is going to go for the flares. Now, there's a guaranteed way where neither AA missiles nor manpads will hit you, and that's pre-flaring. So, if I come into that place and I think there might be manpads, and I do this before I come into manpad range, then they won't be able to hit me for, I think it's 10 seconds. So, if I drop a steady drop of flares, they won't be able to acquire me and they will be able to fire at me. Of course, the problem is that I have a limited amount of flares. So if you are running out of flares and you think that you are in manpad range, get out quick. And if you are out of flares and an enemy has AA missiles, well, yeah, feel free to curse his mother because yeah, it's all there is to it. As you can see, the flares also reload in flight. You can see the counter going up. As for the rest of things, if you want to reload, well, you need to go back to base, land, and wait for the loading phase to happen and for all your weapons to reload. And that's about it. Now let's take a look at some of the things in a proper scenario. how soldiers work, how to deploy them, how to work with your door gunners, etc. Okay, so here we are in a single player scenario I set for myself. And we are using a Huey which has 6 soldiers and 4 mortars, which actually is 2 mortars in teams of 2. First thing I'm told is to go and capture landing zone 7, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go there using the maneuvering tricks I told you. I want to come in low because I like flying low. Tactics is a different matter, I'm not going to enter in. This is only about how to control, capture, and etc. So you land in an uncaptured area and your soldiers will auto-deploy and they will go man the stations. Now, if you have some specialists, for instance, RPGs or manpads or what you have, mortars, you can also deploy them. With T, I can deploy these mortars. You can see 2 teams of 2, 2 mortars are up. Now, of course, the problem is that mortars are useless with my helicopter, so what I'm going to do is to come back to my base and I'm going to get a scout helicopter which can use mortars. In the meantime, you can see I can choose with this helicopter fixed machine guns, rockets, but I also have door gunners. Door gunners are by default automatic. They will fire automatically to ground targets that come into their arcs of fire. If you want to manually use them, you have to go to gunner, click right or right click, and then you can aim and shoot them manually. Very useful in some scenarios where you have enemies to the side or you want to clear some ground units that you have to decide very quickly, like manpads, RPGs, whatever. Okay, so we land. If you land a HTE, you can change helicopter. So now I'm going to change helicopter. I'm going to go with my scout helicopter, my little bear. And it's telling me that we have enemies coming from 6, enemies en route from 6. So I'm going to have to really work hard on this because this is a scout helicopter with only 7 rockets, and there are going to be tanks coming. So yeah, let's see if I can do this. Well, they are there. I can put my marker on them, hit B, and you see, when I hit B, it's telling me that the enemy has been spotted. And now, those markers that I can see from very far away, other helicopters can't because they are not scouts, they will be seen. Now, of course, the problem is they have captured the area. I wasn't quick enough. So, okay. Also, there's another problem, and that's that they hit my
fire on board. Warning, fire on board.
They have hit me several times. They have got a critical fire on board that makes me, you can see, it maneuvers much slower. You can have several different kinds of critical hits to the rotor, which really sucks because you begin spinning around on place, that fire, hydraulics. There are several different kinds of damage you can be subjected to. So what I'm going to do, because I want to demonstrate how the mortars work, not interested in winning this, just in showing you how this works, is I come here, I change helicopters. What I'm going to do is to do a very short hop, land right here. Of course, the problem is mortars have a limited range, so depending on where you deploy them, you can hit some stuff or you can't. Okay, let's land, let's change again, and bring the scout up. Now, mortars. To use mortars, what you want to do is to come to a distance far enough where you can light enemy up with your scouting ability, for instance. The moment the base pops up is a good moment to stop. You see I'm coming very carefully, slowing. Okay, enemy base on view, I'm going to hover. I go to mortar view, I can zoom in from mortar view. You can see that my other weapons don't have any zoom, but mortars always have zoom. You see, there are brackets. Okay, that's the area where the mortars will fall into. If you aim to a point and you let those brackets converge and you begin firing, it takes time. The closer the mortars are, the less flight it will be. But you see, they begin dropping. And eventually they will be able to kill enemies. See, now I reported enemies, and any other friendly around here will be able to see those guys. And that's it. So you point, you aim, etc. Of course, if you are moving around, those brackets will get very big very quickly. So the best way to use it is to be more or less in a hover. Also, you can see they are not pinpoint. They are more or less hitting in the area of your brackets. So usually to ensure kills, you want to fire several different volleys. Also, depending on how tough the enemy is, if it's an enemy heavy tank, it's going to take a lot more hits than if it's an armored transport, right? Or a truck or a Humvee. So yeah, that's how you use the mortars. And that's mostly it. That's all I wanted to cover in this video. The very essentials of how Heliborne works. And yeah, there will be 4 more videos describing the different helicopters, and I'm going to more or less rate them according to what I think of them. In the meantime, well, if this helps you, I really hope it did, tell me so in the comment section below. Give me a like, they always help a lot, and I can use any help I can get in this channel. And as always, well, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and see you later.